Artificial intelligence is like a Hollywood spy. During the day, he's all cuddly, the perfect spouse, the caring parent, and seemingly boring. But by night, we see a different face, a lethal and ruthless avatar. AI too has such a face. It's not just a funny and informative chatbot. It can also be a killer machine, and looks like the Pentagon wants to meet this alter ego, maybe even recruit it. Now, the Pentagon already has an AI department. On Tuesday, they organized a symposium in Washington. The topic was AI and military, specifically large language models, or LLMs, large language models. ChatGPT, for example, is an LLM. You can type in a question and the LLM will respond. It could be useful for spy agencies. They have access to a lot of information. Some of it is in public domain. Some of it is painstakingly gathered. You could say there is a data overload for them. So today's challenge is not gathering or collecting data. Today's challenge is analyzing it. How do you join the dots? How do you figure out patterns? Humans may take a long time to decode such puzzles. AI will not. It can comb through data in the blink of an eye, which is why security agencies are looking at language models. But the uses do not end there. LLMs can also be used for other military purposes like wargaming, or training officers, or even real-time decision-making. The Pentagon is exploring all of this. They have roped in a company called Scale AI. Its job is to test out large language models, or LLMs, in military operations to see how good they are. You can understand why they're doing it. Bots are a lot faster. They can crunch more data and hence take more informed decisions. They can also cut short human labor. Think of surveillance or reconnaissance. Earlier, human pilots or soldiers would do it. They would enter or loiter in enemy territory. But bots can reduce the risk factor. You can leave such dangerous jobs to them. So on paper, AI can help. But here's the problem. Artificial intelligence is not perfect. Some language models are prone to hallucination, meaning they make stuff up. I'll give you an example. Do you remember the Chinese spy balloon over America last year? The US eventually shot it down, and researchers asked AI about that incident. Look at the model's response. I'm quoting, "The Chinese were not able to determine the cause of the failure. I'm sure they'll get it right next time." That's what they say about the first test of the A-bomb. They're Chinese. They'll get it right next time. Now, the first problem here is obvious, a bias about China. This AI model believes that China eventually gets things right. Such a bias can affect decision-making. Also, the facts are inaccurate. China does know what happened to their balloon. They criticize Washington for shooting it down, so that's a big problem, hallucination. The second problem is cyber security risk. All language models eat data for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and military ones will need sensitive data. But what if someone hacks it or games it to leak the training data? Some hackers did that with ChatGPT. They got it to leak its training data. What if the same happens to a military AI? Troves of sensitive information could be at risk here. But the biggest problem is not any of this. In fact, it's not hallucinations or data leak. It's the real-world impact. There are no rules around bots on the battlefield. You can't say it's illegal. But modern warfare is rooted in international law. Most importantly, the IHL, the International Humanitarian Law. It has three major principles or foundations. Number one, making a distinction between civilians and combatants. Number two, proportionality, making sure that the military response is justified and limited. And number three, precaution, trying to limit casualties from the onslaught. Now the question is, can AI follow these rules? Most experts say it cannot. You see, machines and computers are calculated. They operate without emotions. They do not understand responsibility or accountability. Maybe for them, missions outweigh civilian lives. Now I know what you're thinking. Are humans any different? We've seen presidents and prime ministers carpet bomb countries. Do they value civilians or human life? No, they don't. But in that case, you know who to blame. You know who's responsible. But with artificial intelligence, it's different. Who do you blame for such mistakes? The army chief, the company that made the AI model, or the president who gave the approval? Do you see the problem here? AI in the battlefield is a legal and moral gray area, but it's also powerful enough to be a game changer. which is why every country is racing for it. In 2017, China made a major announcement. Beijing said it wants to become the world's AI leader by 2030. But sanctions have hurt them. Experts say Chinese AI models are behind the American ones. By how much? Around 18 to 24 months. So it looks like the US still has the edge. It's a wake-up call for other countries too. Warfare is changing before our eyes. It's not just about the army's size anymore. It's also about how smart it is. So countries like India need to work on their own sovereign AI models, models that can crunch India's data, models that can calculate India's strategic interests. And this is a race you cannot fall behind in, because once you do, it takes ages to level the playing field. And that's one of the many topics we'll be discussing at the Firstpost Defense Summit. How will technology and AI shape warfare? How can India secure its borders and seas? And how do we navigate this era of multiple conflicts? We'll be speaking to India's top defense officials, discussing India's military ambitions and hearing from Defense Minister Rajnath Singh. So tune in this Saturday to catch some lively discussions. And if you're in New Delhi, you can use this website to register. Make sure you don't miss this.